California Congressman Adam Schiff is the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee and joins me now. Welcome. Glad to see you. Thanks for coming over. First of all, let's talk about Michael Wolff's book, because there are a number of issues that are issues that we know Robert Mueller is looking into. And Bannon suggests, for instance, that even holding that meeting in Trump Tower with the Russians is treasonous. He doesn't have any legal standing to say that, but how does that, if at all, affect the investigation?
Well, I certainly concur with the idea that Bannon expresses reportedly in his book that this should have been reported to the FBI. This is a meeting that the FBI should have been made aware of. Look, the Russian government is trying to intervene, is offering help to a presidential campaign. Here's the approach they made to us. They didn't do that. Whether that is criminal or not will be something Bob Mueller will ultimately determine, and obviously we're investigating all the facts around that meeting and have a lot more work to do. But I certainly agree with the kind of damning characterization of it. I don't know that I would call it treason, but certainly it was unpatriotic, may have very well been part of a conspiracy. We're still trying to determine whether there were meetings that went before that and after it.
And what about Mark Corralo, someone you probably know of at least, who was a spokesman for the legal team, but in the past had actually worked with the Justice Department and with prosecutors, quitting and saying in the book that, or being quoted as saying in the book, or referred to as quitting because he felt that the shaping of that explanation of the Russia meeting at Trump Tower from the president on down on that Air Force One back from Germany when it was first revealed, that was on its face obstruction.
Well, I think the obstruction of justice is a real issue that bears investigation by us and by Bob Mueller. We are trying to get to the bottom of what took place on that plane as well. I asked Donald Trump Jr. about the conversation he had with his father after that meeting became public, and he refused to answer, invoking a non-existent attorney-client privilege between he and his father. It remains to be seen whether we can get the majority's support to compel him to come back and answer those questions, as we need to get to the bottom of this.
One of the quotes from Bannon, and we have to drill down with Michael Wolff in the coming days. He's going to be on the Today Show tomorrow and on Meet the Press on Sunday. When he put something in quotes, was he taping on his phone? How did he know, how many of these quotes are legitimate quotes? There's some question about methodology here. So with that said,
I know that we've seen Bannon refute these quotes.
That's correct.
He has spoken about it. He hasn't said that anything that was attributed to him was not said by him, so presumably maybe there is a recording.
A good point. And one of the quotes from Bannon in the book is, "You realize where this is going. This is all about money laundering. Mueller chose Weissman," that's one of the assistant prosecutors or one of the staff people there, first, and he is a money laundering guy. It goes through Deutsche Bank and all the Kushner stuff deleted. The Kushner expletive deleted is greasy. They're going to go right through that. The follow the money issue in talking to former intelligence officials is where the FBI has been going since the start.
I can't comment on where the FBI is investigating. I have some visibility, but not by any means perfect visibility into what special counsel or the FBI is doing. I can say I think it is a very important issue to be investigated. The allegations are credible enough, and the damage to the country would be significant if this is something that hold over the head of the President of the United States. So I do think it needs to be investigated. You do see concerted efforts by the President and his allies to limit what Bob Mueller can look at. The Manafort litigation should be seen in that context. Efforts by Republicans in the House to attack Mueller should be seen in that context. Plainly, they don't want Mueller looking into money laundering, but it would be negligent for him not to.
Before I let you go on, you referred to the Manafort litigation. It's a challenge to the scope, to try to limit the scope of Mueller's inquiry. There have been legal questions as to whether he even went to the right court, whether he has standing. You're a former prosecutor. Your take on that?
The litigation isn't going to go anywhere, and it's not meant to go anywhere. It's meant to send a message to be part of a concerted pushback by the President and his allies. This may be, more than anything else, Manafort's bid to get a pardon. And I think we need to look at any potential pardon as an act of obstruction of justice, to get back to that issue. Some people claim the president's pardon power is absolute. He doesn't have the power, constitutionally, to obstruct justice. And if he uses a pardon to do so, that is a deep problem and would provoke a constitutional crisis.
And I want to ask you about this meeting last night where Rod Rosenstein and Chris Wray went to see Paul Ryan, the Speaker, to resolve, presumably, a dispute over whether Devin Nunes, the chairman of your committee, would have access to the FBI's work and to the prosecutor's work. He's supposed to be recused, but as you have been pointing out, there have been a lot of disputes as to what Devin Nunes is still doing in terms of wielding power over subpoenas. Do you know how that's been resolved and how Paul Ryan came down?
You know, I don't know. I know there's been an agreement. We got sort of a cryptic statement from the Department of Justice that they reached an agreement on documents. The department was supposed to fully brief the minority at the same time.
You haven't been told yet. You're the ranking Democrat.
We have not, and that breaches a commitment the Department of Justice made to our committee, to the minority in our committee, which we have repeatedly taken up with them.
Can't you appeal to the Speaker of the House, who's supposed to be elected by all of you, and ask for some visibility on this? Well, find out what happened.
The appeal we're making to the Speaker, frankly, is let the investigation run its course.
Do you think he's trying to block it?
You know, ultimately, if the Republicans bring an end to the House investigation when there are dozens and dozens of witnesses that need to be interviewed, then the Speaker will bear responsibility.
What concerns might you have if Devin Nunes gets access to everything the prosecutor is doing, given the fact that he made that midnight trip to the White House in months past and raised the whole issue of unmasking and carried water for the White House, back when Flynn, I think, was still in the White House?
This is the problem. You know, the White House trip, the whole unmasking investigation, which was a dead end, and it was always going to be a dead end. And now the effort to impeach Mueller, the FBI, the Department of Justice, it's all designed to distract from the Russia investigation. None of it goes to what Russia did when it violated our sovereignty, but it is in the service of the White House. And that's no way to conduct an investigation. It's also going to do lasting damage to the FBI and the Department of Justice.
Now that he's been cleared of this ethics problem relating to that prior interference in the investigation, is Nunes back in charge? Is Conaway being shoved aside?
Well, you know, as the chairman said after the Ethics Committee declined to move forward, he never stopped being the decision maker, and that was all too true. The key decisions in the committee, even when he said he was stepping aside or recusing himself, continued to be made privately, secretly by the chairman. And that has not been helpful to the investigation, but it's been the reality.
Do you think it's at a dead end?
No, I mean, I certainly hope not, because we have a lot more work to do. But it will depend on whether the majority is serious about commitment to following the facts wherever they lead. There are very important documents that will shed light, for example, on the Trump Tower meeting. There are very important witnesses that go to the issue of contacts between the Russians and the Trump campaign. The question is, will the majority let us interview them?
Adam Schiff, to be